How long had you been married before you cheated? I hate myself. I've ruined my marriage, and we're not even 5 years into it. I cheated, and my husband and I are spending some time apart. I know I shouldn't have, but I saw my husband today. I have already quit my job. I'm using my accrued leave to quit right away, so I won't have to give them my final 4 weeks of employment. Word has spread around my office about what I did. I kept getting odd looks from my coworkers, and I couldn't take it anymore. My first day off was today, and I've spent most of it crying. I finally had enough and headed over to our house to talk to him. I know I promised to give him space, but it was like someone was sitting on my chest. I was hoping we could converse. Part of me was also hoping he would be at work and I wouldn't see him because I knew he didn't want to see me, but he was home. When I walked in the door, he just looked at me, expressionless. I told him I needed to speak to him just to hear his voice. He told me to just go back to my parents. He sounded so fed up with me. I tried telling him how I was feeling, but he just said he needed time to think about everything. His best friend was there. She started yelling at me, telling me to leave. I tried saying I just wanted to speak to my husband, and she laughed and told me I might as well start calling him my ex. He stopped her, which I appreciated, and asked her to give us some time to talk. She was clearly reluctant, but she did walk out of the room. I asked him if he was going to go to marriage counseling this week, and he said no. He told me he doesn't know if we'll be able to make it past this. He doesn't see me as his wife anymore. I told him I wouldn't fight it if he wanted a divorce. But if he was willing to give me a chance, I'd do anything to earn back his trust. I told him I'd quit my job and find one that meant I could work from home. I would no longer take any trips anywhere unless he came with me. I'd only drink around him and only drink if he did. I'd give him access to my phone and social media. He'd have my location at all times. He just looked at me and said he isn't a prison guard and has no intention of becoming one. I tried telling him it wasn't about being a prison guard. It was about showing him I was serious about earning back his trust. He looked down and told me that was unlikely. He asked me if I'd ever cheated before, and I swore that I hadn't. He asked me to explain what happened that night. I didn't want to give him all the details, but I did. He just looked at me the whole time, silently listening. I didn't spare anything. I came clean. He just asked me if that's all it took for me to destroy our marriage. Some guy offering to buy you drinks and compliment you is all it took? I was a mess at this point. I told him I was wrong and selfish. I had done something unforgivable, but I was determined to show him how much I loved him. He just looked down and said that it was clear I never truly loved him. I loved myself and what he could give me, but I didn't love him. I told him that wasn't true, but he just looked at me and told me it was. If I loved him, I wouldn't have done this. I had countless opportunities to not cheat, but I went through with it for my own selfish reasons. He didn't want to be with someone who could do that. He told me the thought of me being with someone other than him now made him feel nauseous. In his eyes, I wasn't worth it. He told me he didn't need to hear anymore, and me showing up to speak to him was proof I didn't care about his needs. He said he was going to find a divorce lawyer in the next 2 weeks and start the process. It felt like a knife had stabbed me in the chest. I begged him to wait until I was in counseling so I could show him I was making real progress, but he said I shouldn't bother because our marriage was over. He said he'd be willing to split our money down the middle and sell the house so we could start our own lives again. Once the divorce was done, he didn't want anything to do with me. He'd seen the true me, and he didn't like it. He told me to grab anything I needed from the house. The next time he spoke to me, it would be with his lawyer.